Hello and welcome to Broken Entertainment. And Netflix has lost 500,000 subscribers. And that's pretty big. You know, in the grand scheme of Netflix's subscriber base, that may seem small, but all at once, that's pretty significant and indicative of potential change down the road. Now, we can look at this number and you can go, oh, get woke, go broke, etc., etc. Well, as always, one set of data is not enough for me. I want to see more. But it's a starting point, and it's definitely worth mentioning and talking about here. I'm going to go into this article on Bleeding Fool, and I'm not going to go too deep into it because mostly it starts to get into left versus right politics. I don't want to go there, but I do want to pull out the useful information here. The streamer is reporting they have lost over 500,000 members in the U.S. and Canada during the second quarter. The departure underscores a growing public dissatisfaction with subscription streaming services in general, notably Netflix, as Americans get tired of rising prices and overhyped content while embracing alternative sources of entertainment post-lockdown. The streamer claimed it lost 430,000 customers in the United States over that period, the first time it has lost subscribers in 2 years. Subscriptions are viewed as the most important sign of Netflix's financial health by Wall Street, since they're the strongest predictor of the company's future cash flow. Their most recent subscriber exodus pales in contrast, as it lost 100,000 subscribers in the second quarter of 2019. Netflix blamed the massive membership drop on seasonality and the already vast size of its North American user base in its earnings statement. The streamer made no mention of its material. And then this is where they get into politics, but I will say programming like controversial material like Cuties, offensive cartoons, and other overhyped shows like Tiger King, Waffles and Moki, and Bridgerton haven't helped their fortunes. They seem to worry about... Okay, well, we won't go into that. So, couple of thoughts here. 500,000's big. That's a lot all at once. And I think there's no doubt a shift going on and a potential that Netflix is going to shrink over the course of the next several years. Now, I don't think you can pin that on any one thing. Yes, they have disgusting shows like Cuties. Yes, they have gotten increasingly ideological. But more importantly, what must-watch shows do they have now? They have Bridgerton. It has a demographic. They have what? I think The Witcher is on Netflix. I could be wrong. If I am, let me know in the comments down below. I don't really watch Netflix because of Cuties. Every now and then, they have some older stuff that's harder to get elsewhere, but people can watch it elsewhere. And there's no draw. There's nothing that has made me want to reconsider, because I'm like, well, what am I going to watch? All the cool movies that are coming out from Warner Brothers on HBO Max. Disney Plus has its programming. Hulu has its programming. And that's really what we're getting into now. You have a company that is the oldest company in the streaming industry, and that makes it vulnerable. On top of that, it has created a lot of shows that will get popular, and then they just can them. They give it like a season, and then they're just done. They're like, don't feel like doing more, so they just quit. And when you look at a lot of the recent successes that have drawn crowds, whether or not those crowds have stayed or not is a different discussion, but they've been on HBO Max and they've been on Disney Plus. And you have the prequel show to Game of Thrones that's going to come out on HBO Max. You have Batgirl that's going to come out on HBO Max. You have other DC content available already there and other stuff coming out. And whether these end up being good or not, that's another story. But they're going to give them that initial normie draw. Now, Netflix is kind of like the comfort food of streaming services. You know, it's easy to go to, it's got the most stuff, it's got the biggest diversity of programming. But does it have anything that draws your attention? And when you now have several streaming services, you know, I'll try to think of them all here: Amazon Prime, Hulu Plus, Disney Plus, HBO Max, Netflix, Paramount Plus, Discovery, I think Plus, because everything's a plus, right? So we're up to 7. Peacock, that's 8. I think I already mentioned Hulu. If you can think of others, let me know in the comments. But so we're looking at least 8 streaming services vying for everybody's attention. And Netflix just doesn't have anything. And on top of that, a lot of what they do have has gotten so ideological that even the quote-unquote normies have started to notice. Now, if you're trying to avoid the giant cable bills that you used to have by having streaming services, you can't have every streaming service. You're going to pick and choose. Some of them you might flip back and forth. Some of them you might sign up for the free trial to watch something specific, then unsign up, so on and so forth. So when you have to start picking and choosing, now the question is, are you picking and choosing things that have shows you want to watch by default, or something that is comfortable? And I think you're seeing a shift away from the something that is comfortable, because let's look at these other streaming services. Disney Plus, you have The Mandalorian. That has a pretty nice draw so far. They've got other Star Wars shows that are going to come out that are going to have an initial draw. You have all the Disney movies, which aren't going to keep people, but they do draw some attention. You have the new Disney stuff that comes out. You have the entire Marvel catalog. You have Black Widow that just came out. What do you have on Amazon Prime? Well, there's a couple shows there. And you're going to have Lord of the Rings. That's going to have a big initial draw as well. Now, I'm saying initial a lot because I think a lot of this stuff is going to ultimately fail because the creators don't care about it. And, you know, we've talked about that in other videos. HBO Max. You have repeatedly, at this point, I think HBO Max may be, for a lot of people, a default stream. Now, I know its numbers aren't huge, but their numbers are growing pretty quickly because everything Warner Brothers makes comes out on it for free. So if you don't want to spend the money to go to a theater, you can watch it for free without, you know, getting a skull and crossbones, right? So then you've got the ideology playing into it. You've got the protest over cuties playing into it. But that was a while ago. I think people have kind of moved on from that. And you've just got the lack of any real hard draws to Netflix. And with so much competition and so many people having multiple streaming services, you know, I don't know anybody that just has one anymore. Then the question is going to become for people, do I want to hold on to Netflix, or do I want to watch these specific shows that I'm really excited about, and then when I'm bored I can go watch back catalogs? A lot of people rediscovered the outdoors during the whole lockdown thing, and I'm not going to show you the numbers here, but suffice to say, the outdoors, and you've probably seen it, the outdoors sector has skyrocketed to levels they can't keep up with. You go to a bike shop and there's no bikes. You go to a boat store and there's no boats. you see, you know, you go to these outdoor stores and they have no inventory, and it's not entirely because of the shipping. It's because people just buy everything. You're talking about sales numbers going up 100% to 300% over what they used to be. So you've got people seeing, oh, Netflix doesn't have a lot. I've already got like 5 streaming services that kind of like to cut back. Oh, Netflix has a lot of ideology stuff. So you've got people watching maybe specific shows that really draw their interest, and then potentially the rest of the time saying, I don't need TV on. Not to mention there's other forms of entertainment. You go to YouTube and so on. It's hard to say. These are all things that I think play into it. I think the temptation is to say, get woke, go broke. Well, let's wait and see. Because I think if it's what I'm talking about, you'll start to see that decline continue. So next quarter you'll see another loss of subscribers, and next quarter you'll see another loss of subscribers, but that will gradually kind of flatline. Whereas if it's legitimately purely because of the ideology, I think you could see another 500,000 subscriber drop. If it's that, and people have caught on, it's going to fall really, really fast. But I think that only plays a role into a very complicated situation. And the tendency on YouTube is to jump on it and say, aha! But, let's think about it for a minute. Certainly the ideology plays a role. But is it that simple? Is it simple enough to say, everybody's finally tired of it and they're leaving? On one set of data, I can't say that for sure. And so I'm not willing to go that extra step a lot of other channels are going and say, oh, clearly this is because of their ideology. And I'm not willing to go where this article goes, going the same way, because there's just too many uncertainties until we see additional data. I'm not discounting it. I'm merely saying I want to see more numbers. I want to see the quarter after this one and the quarter after that one. And if we continue to see this plunge, Netflix has a real problem. And I think you can then trace it to ideology. But if it's a combination of factors, I think you get the sharp plunge and then it's going to kind of slowly level out. So we'll see what it does. Those are just my thoughts on it, though. Let me know in the comments what you think. How you feel about streaming and Netflix in general, the prices that are going up. Let me know about all that in the comments. I'm really interested to hear how people feel about this streaming stuff. Because me personally, I don't really watch much Netflix. I do watch Disney Plus. I do watch HBO Max. And I don't watch either one all of that much personally. Now, family stuff, it's easy, right? But as far as personal shows, I don't really got anything on any of them anymore. Unless it's to go and watch something old. But yeah, let me know what you think. I'm really curious. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Hit the bell for notifications. And don't forget to hit the like button if you liked the video. And I will see you next time.